Well, here we go. Another Wednesday night here in Fort Collins at the Beach House Grill. And it's time for another edition of the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show here on the Colorado State Sports Network. Welcome to the program, everybody. Brian Roth with you here for the next hour as we talk Colorado State Rams football with the coach Steve Fairchild. And it's another joyous occasion here tonight at the Beach House Grill as Colorado State is coming off perhaps their most complete performance of the season. The Rams knocked off the Lobos of New Mexico 38-14 this past Saturday at Sonny Lubick Field at Hughes Stadium. It was a dominating effort. There's no question about that. You look at some of the numbers, and they would even suggest that perhaps the score might have, well, should have been maybe a little more lopsided than it was, but it was a convincing win for the Rams. 584 yards of total offense in the game for Colorado State. That was their second best total yard output of the season. Meanwhile, Larry Kerr and that defensive staff came up with a great scheme, and they held New Mexico to just 237 yards of total offense last week. That was a season low. The Rams are going to hope to build on that as they head back out on the road. A tough opponent coming up next as the Rams will face 6-2 San Diego State. That'll be an 8 o'clock kickoff coming up on Saturday night from Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. And, of course, we'll have all the coverage for you right here on the Colorado State Sports Network. A few special guests tonight. Director of Athletics, Paul Kowalczyk. He's in the house. We'll talk to Paul coming up here in a few minutes. And we'll also talk to defensive coordinator Larry Kerr. And rumor going around that senior Ricky Brewer may be here as well. And we certainly hope we can chat with the senior from Denver. All that and much more coming up next here on the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show, live in Old Town Fort Collins from Elegant Sports, the Colorado State Sports Network. All right, just getting started here tonight from the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins here on the Colorado State Sports Network and the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. Brian Roth with you, and the head coach of the Colorado State Rams joining me, Steve Fairchild. Rams coming off that 38-14 victory against New Mexico on Saturday. And perhaps, Steve, the most complete game of the year for you guys to this point?
Yeah, it might have been. We definitely got a more consistency out of all three phases. You know, at times this year we've been playing well on one side of the ball, not on the other. But, you know, I thought all three phases chipped in. You know, the thing that was disappointing was they opened up each half with a big special teams play on us, and that kind of you know, really hurt us in terms of field position. But our defense was able to overcome some of that, and offensively, anytime we can run the ball like we did, we're going to have some good things happen. You
know, you get an 0-for team coming in, a team that had struggled like New Mexico. Sometimes that makes the team a little more dangerous, maybe a little more hungry. I thought you guys handled that well.
Well, yeah, and you know, they scared you because they still, you know, even though they haven't had much success this year, you know, they played well at times in games, and even the way the week before they played San Diego State, very, very tough. So they reminded me prior to our UNLV game, you know, I think they were about ready to kind of put it together, and certainly they did last year. They beat us. So no games are gimme. You know, they're all, you got to play well or you're going to get beaten in every game in this league.
You mentioned the special teams play to open up the game. They started from midfield, and I think it was a 4-play drive. Next thing you know, you guys are down 7-0, but your offense, you know, you can't give a team like that that's desperate any kind of hope. And, well, your offense responded on their opening drive of the game.
Yeah, and it took a couple third down conversions, you know, a big 3rd and 13 there to lose. So, you know, you're not always going to make those plays, but fortunately we did, and it was nice to answer that drive of theirs right off the bat.
Yeah, then you answered it with a couple more touchdowns in that opening quarter, and it just seems like your offense is kind of a different offense at home. And I know we've talked about home and road splits, but it's an offense that right out of the gate seems to be very comfortable, especially Pete Thomas in the friendly environment.
Yeah, but I think as each game and each practice goes on, you know, you're seeing Pete get a little more comfortable with what we're doing. Our offensive line kind of gelling. You know, Lou Greenwood's maturing at receiver. So you just see we're getting a little more healthy at running back when Leonard comes back, and now Raymond Carter's back. So we've got some good pieces there. I knew, like I said earlier in the year, it was going to be how we develop and how fast we develop in the offensive line and quarterback. And I certainly think we're moving along just fine in those areas.
Chris Woke had 19 carries, 15 for Leonard Mason, and 5 for Raymond Carter. Did you have a plan going into that game and the amount of carries?
No, we always have a plan on how early to get a guy in, but once we watch him play, you always want to go with the hot hand. And I thought Leonard was running the ball very, very well, finishing runs like he's capable of. And as the game unfolded, it turned out to be one of those games where you're going to get a lot of run opportunities. So, a guy goes in there 5-6 carries, and then you put Chris in, let him have 4 or 5 carries. So, and we knew we'd wanted to get Raymond in on certain plays, certain packages. So it kind of worked out good in that regard, and we almost had 2 backs go over 100 yards, which is a good deal.
We had Leonard Mason on our post-game show following the game on Saturday. He said he unleashed the beast on Saturday. Did you know the beast existed?
Well, I didn't see enough beast last year, but we're starting to see some this year, and that's a good thing. I'd like to see it every run. I'd like to see that thing finish every single time, because I'll tell you what, he is impressive when he goes, and he can wear defenses down. I thought he did that to New Mexico. I thought at the going into the second half, it was no fun to play defense against him. Guys were finding a way not to tackle him, and that's what he's capable of doing, much like Gartrell.
Yeah. How about Chris Woke? I mean, he's gotten more and more carries now in the last 2-3 weeks. Have you seen him getting more comfortable?
Yeah, Chris is raw. I've said all along, I like the energy. I just like what he brings to our football team. Great kid, real smart kid, plays hard. He's a raw running back. He needs to be in our system more and learn those run fits and learn the timing of those plays. He'll continue to improve. He's got a huge upside, and you saw some of the things the last few weeks, what he's capable of doing, and I think he's just going to get better and better.
Kind of expand on that if you could. You call him a raw running back. You mentioned the timing. A lot of times people look at the running back position and the play calls to go out this hole, and you take the handoff and boom, you hit it, and that's all there is to it.
No, it's far from the truth, and to give you an example, on zone scheme runs, there's certain points of entry and certain tracks we want to run because you're behind an offensive line, and you've got to bring linebackers to offensive line blocks, and those tracks are really important. And then you get into a gap scheme run, and where you fit in relationship with pulling linemen is key. And those are things that if you just don't pay attention to, or if you just grab a kid out of high school and start handing him the ball, it does. Your run game's not going to be as good as it can be.
Yeah. Mike Loxley said after the game something to the effect, of course, Mike Loxley, New Mexico's head coach, something to the effect that they hadn't been manhandled like that all season long. That has to make you feel very good and very proud.
Well, we were far from perfect, but that's the way we would like to play football, particularly there in the second half. And I know at Colorado State, our mode of operations always been to try to be a physical run football team and then build off that. And I thought we did a nice job last Saturday night.
Yeah, did you think you would dominate them up front as much as you did? Because it was right from that opening drive when you guys were down 7-0, and there were huge holes in your offensive line was blowing their defensive line off.
Yeah, the offensive line really did a nice job of getting those backs started, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Every game's different. Every defensive coordinator that's calling a defense chooses to approach you in a separate way from maybe the week before, and there's a lot of adjustments and a lot of things that you've got to be ready for, a lot of what ifs we do during the week. But they were playing us in a 2 safety look, so I mean, when we get that, we're going to run the football.
Yeah, I know we had made mention of it after I think your second offensive drive up in the booth, but Kevin McGlue, our color analyst, and I looked at each other during one of the breaks, and it just, we got the feeling that your offense was going to be able to do whatever it wanted to. Was there that sense of confidence after the first couple
drives? Especially when you put 21 points on the board in the first quarter, there gets to be a little bit of buzz offensively, and you could feel it there on the sidelines. They were just waiting to get the ball back, and every time they got it, they thought they could go down and make some points.
Well, it was a fun afternoon to be a Ram, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Again, 584 total yards on the season, or in the game for the Rams. 328 on the ground. That was a season high as Colorado State rushed it 50 times in the victory against New Mexico. We'll talk more about the New Mexico game coming up here in just a bit. We're going to give you a little bit of an early timeout here, Steve, and give you a little bit of a break. We'll bring in Paul Kowalczyk, Director of Athletics. So we'll take a timeout. More to come here from the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. Paul Kowalczyk up next from Milligan Sports. Colorado State Sports Network. Back at the Beach House Grill here in Fort Collins as we are just getting kicked off here in the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. Brian Rothback with you. Bob Greenfield Engineering here tonight. Great crowd on hand here this evening, as there has been all season long. It's a great time to get out here, 6:30 to 7:30 every Wednesday night here at the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. Just 2 left after tonight, so a couple more chances to get out here. Brian Rothback with you. Happy to be joined by the Director of Athletics at Colorado State, Paul Kowalczyk. Paul, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Brian. My pleasure.
Making his debut on the program this year. Well, Paul, some of the big news coming down late last week was the fact that the 2 new conference members that are coming into the Mountain West, Fresno State and Nevada, it appears now, well, it doesn't appear, it is fact now that they will not be in the conference coming up next year. So that leaves you guys with an 8-team conference and a 7-game conference slate. That means you guys are going to have to find a football game for the non-conference schedule next year.
Yeah, we're out fishing right now, and actually have been prior to that, just as a contingency. We didn't know for sure what the decision was ultimately going to be, and when it came down, we had already done some advanced work. But it takes 2 to tango, and scheduling is certainly more art than science. And there are schools that we don't want to play, quite honestly, and there are others, schools that don't want to play us. So we're trying to find the dates. Dates are an issue as well as the right competition.
You and I had talked last week about that Fresno State and Nevada thing, to where even if they, let's say they had been invited into the conference and they were going to play next year, well, all of a sudden that leaves you with a 10-game conference, which means it's a 9-game conference schedule. You guys already had 4 non-conference. You would have had to break a contract if it happened the opposite way.
Yeah, one of my sins as athletic director in this whole process is the fact that I have scheduled out for the next 7 years or whatever, and now that's coming back to haunt me because of the new conference realignment. But not all those things have been decided. We may still, as a conference, play 8 games. Even though we'll have 10 teams. I assume and I expect fully eventually for us to play all 9 conference opponents. What year that kicks in, it could be 12. It could be beyond that. We have to determine that at the conference level.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're looking, we're not doing anything for the future right now other than concentrating on 11. Again, and right now we're looking for an FBS opponent, formerly 1A. We want to play a home and home if we can. We can travel in this instance. But at worst comes to worst, we'll play another 1AA opponent. We don't want to. And that's FCS, but we don't want to do that. But numerous schools have done that over the last 4 or 5 years. Kind of, if you have to, you do it. But again, we'd prefer not.
Yeah, and I guess one of the so-called rules when it comes to bowl eligibility is you can only count one AA win towards your win total.
Right, but if you look at this year's bowl scenario, there probably will not be enough teams to participate in all the bowl slots and all the bowl games. So they're going to have to choose some other criteria, and I think the first thing they'll go to is, well, do you have 6 wins, and if they're against 1AA opponents, who cares at that point? And then, because the last thing you want to see is frankly, is a sub-500 team get into a bowl game, and that may be the case as well this year. I'm not the biggest fan of anybody goes to a bowl game who's 6-6. I never wanted to strive for mediocrity, and I think that's sort of what it is. The old everybody who shows up gets a trophy philosophy. That's sort of where we are. Yeah. So, but you know, on the other hand, coaches love to bring their kids to a bowl game and give them the whole experience, and I can't argue with that part of it.
I'm pretty sure, and there might be some Ram fans out there that can correct me on this. I'm pretty sure in 2001, when the Rams went to the New Orleans Bowl, they played a sub-500 North Texas team. North Texas was 5-6 in 2001, and it was kind of odd. They had gone like 5-1 in the Sun Belt and won the Sun Belt and got their automatic bid. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see that either. Now, when we do get to that 10-team conference as a Mountain West, you have that 9-game schedule, and I know that's kind of a point of contention with some folks, because when you do have a 9-game conference schedule, some teams in a given year will be playing 5 home conference games, while others are only playing 4 home conference games.
Yeah, and once again, we could wind up in a situation where we have 6 home games, then 5, then 6, then 5. And that's not what we want. We want 6 games at Hughes Stadium. It's Hughes Stadium year in and year out. And then we want the CU game in Denver. So, you know, obviously it gives you the best chance to win. You get a chance to build your home crowd, build your program, and then you only have to go on the road really 5 times at that point, because I don't see Denver as really being much of a road game to play CU. So that's the ideal situation. That's what we're striving to do. I think with the odd-even 5-4 situation, there's going to be issues and times when we won't be able to achieve that, again, because we have scheduled out so far. So we may try to jockey the schedule a little bit. I don't like breaking contracts. I don't really like changing schedules, but we'll see how things shake out once it's determined at the conference level exactly how all this is going to play out.
Paul Kowalczyk, Director of Athletics, joining us here in the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. A couple final thoughts before we let you go. Rams Legend Weekend this past weekend was fantastic. Over 200 players. And you guys are going to San Diego coming up this weekend, a chance to connect with more players and alumni. Well,
anytime you get a chance to build that bridge and keep that connection there, it's what makes great programs. And you know, the Legends thing is, this is really the 3rd year we had former football players back, and frankly the first year was the participation was minimal. This year we had over 200 people. We had Earl Bruce back, and we had Mike Lude back, and Tuffy came by, Tuffy Mullison. So it was really nice to have those coaches back as well and continue to build those connections. So we love it, we appreciate it, and it went over really well.
Final thought before we let you go. Men's basketball tipped off last night, and 84-44, I think, was the score. My memory, it was a 40-point win for Tim Miles in the men over 88-48. So Tim Miles and the Rams get the exhibition season underway with the win, and that looks like a pretty good basketball team. They're deep.
Yeah, exactly. We have choices. We have options. We have really talented players, and Tim's done a fabulous job of building that program and getting us to this point. If you remember 4 years ago, I saw Tim in the hallway prior to the game. I said, Tim, good luck. It should be pretty easy today. And he got a chuckle. He said, yeah, but remember 4 years ago, we were down by 17 at halftime to this team. So we've come a long way, and really excited about the basketball season.
Yeah, I was talking to Lonnie Porter, longtime head coach at Regis, before the game. Tim walked up, and Lonnie looked at him. He goes, Tim, I can't tell you how much happier you look this year compared to last year. And Tim kind of thought about it. He goes, you know what? I think I am, and I think it has to do with the quality of the basketball team that he has in the direction of the program. So, hey, Paul, thanks so much. Appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. Look forward to seeing all the Ram fans out at Hughes Stadium and at basketball at Moby.
That's right. Paul Kowalczyk, Director of Athletics here at Colorado State. Don't forget, CSU men's and women's basketball tickets are on sale now, and many plans are also on sale. New this year is the Ram Club Saturday Hoops plan. Receive tickets to all 8 men's basketball games, or Saturday home games, for $96. All 8 Saturday home games, $96. Tickets are located in the premium seating area. Now, this plan is for Ram Club members only, so join today. If you're not a member, for more information, call 1-800-491-RAMS or visit the all-new CSURams.com. All right, we'll switch gears, and we'll talk to Coach Fairchild coming up next and continue here with the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. From Elegant Sports, the Colorado State Sports Network. Welcome back to the Beach House Grill here in Old Town Fort Collins. Coors Light Steve Fairchild Radio Coaches Show here on the Colorado State Sports Network. Steve Fairchild rejoins the program, head coach of the Colorado State Rams. Rams coming off that 38-14 victory over New Mexico. CSU picks up their 2nd conference win of the season. Let's throw out that phone number tonight for the fans that want to hop on board and ask the coach a question. It's 1-866-702-7691. Again, 1-866-702-7691. I have to write that down on a piece of paper in front of me, but some of our callers have that number memorized. That includes Dave in Lakewood, who has already called in and didn't even give out the number yet. Dave, good memory. Welcome to the program.
Gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
Doing good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. Hey, let's look at leadership on the team this year. If there's one player on the offense, not a captain, who you think has taken a leadership role unexpectedly, and also on the defense, who's not a captain, who's taken a leadership role, who would those players be?
Well, I think offensively, Pete Thomas comes to mind. Even though he's a true freshman, he's stepped in. I think if you ask anybody in that offensive huddle, they kind of know he plays a real big role on what we're trying to get done, not just on the field, but off the field. So I've been very, very impressed with his leadership skills. On the defense side of the ball, you know, we obviously have Ricky Brewer, who's going to be on the show here a little bit later on, who everybody expected to be out in front of our football team, but he does such a great job of not only just leading our defensive team, but our entire football team. It's just beautiful to watch. But we've got a lot of guys, young guys playing, and you know, Broderick Sargent and Davis Burrow and some of those guys up front are getting some snaps. And you know, Mike Rackpo, I know eventually people are going to start following Mike Rackpo because he's got a presence to him. So you know, there's a lot of good young potential there, and I'm just pleased with the way our football team's working right now. It's fun to go to practice.
Well, thanks a lot, Steve. I appreciate it. It was great being at practice.
I saw you out there today, Dave. That was cool. You're welcome anytime.
I appreciate that, and have fun going home to San Diego and come out of there with a win.
We'll do that, Dave.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much. 1-866-702-7691, the telephone number here tonight. We'll take a quick break. More to come here from the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins and the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show.
KLZ-AM, KLZ-HD Denver, 560thesource.com, 600 KCOL-AM Wellington.
Back in 5.
In sports, it's the Colorado State Sports Network.
Just about at the halfway point here tonight, Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show here on the Colorado State Sports Network. Ricky Brewer in the house. Always good to get a senior on the program. We'll talk to Ricky here coming up in just a couple of minutes. Well, Steve, you get to like week 9 of the season and guys start getting beat up. Obviously, they started to get beat up before this point, but you know, you guys don't have a bye week this year. How is the health of the football team?
I think we're remarkably healthy. We've had hardly any season-ending injuries. You know, I think it's a credit to the way the kids trained and what Greg Scanlon and his staff do, and again, our assistant coaches and how we practice. You know, we're starting to wear down a little bit. You know, without a bye week, you know, the running backs start to get a little bruised up, and you know, you get a guy here or there that you know, has got a nick and maybe missed a little practice time. But for this part of the season, I'm just amazed at how healthy we are.
Yeah, everybody has a this or a that, don't they, at this point in the season?
At this point, yeah. It's, you know, and you try to taper back practice a little bit when you hit about the 7th or 8th week, and try to keep things fresh a little bit, and we're doing that. But you know, it is a physical game. You go out and play on a Saturday. It's you know, you do 6, 7, 8 Saturdays in a row. Some guys are going to start to have a little nick here or there.
So the Rams are pretty healthy going into Saturday's game against San Diego State. Of course, that injury report brought to you by Poudre Valley Health System. Proud to be the exclusive healthcare sponsor of Ram Athletics, and of course proud to state that when you need medical care, they're here for you. For more information, visit pvhs.org. Want to start diving into San Diego State, Steve? And this is an Aztec football team that I think has surprised a few people, off to a 6-2 start, and in all reality, they could be 8-0.
Yeah, they've been in every those 2 losses. I thought they should have beat Missouri, and you know, and then the 6 wins. Obviously, they played very, very good football. So, you know, it's not surprising to me. You know, they had talent. You could tell the last couple of years when we've been out there, they've got some talented football players on that team, and Coach Hoke's done a nice job of going in there and kind of getting the attitude right, and I'm sure they're practicing hard. And this will be a very, very big challenge for our football team. They're a good team, and it's on the road.
We'll get more thoughts on the Aztecs from the coach Steve Fairchild after this timeout. It's the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show tonight from the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. From Elegant Sports, Colorado State Sports Network.